Water samples collected from a Taipo housing estate found to contain bitumen. Iran launches waves of missiles at Israel in retaliation for airstrikes. And U.S. Marines stand guard at the federal building in Los Angeles. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. A water sample from Taipo was found to have contained bitumen after TVB News conducted laboratory analysis in conjunction with the university's research team. Musin reports.
After bitumen and resin were found in drinking water at Fanang's Queen's Hill estate earlier this month, TVB News tested water samples collected from Taipo, Taiwan, Maongshan, Shanguano, and Kalu Bay. We passed the samples stored in distilled water bottles along with the specimen from Queen's Hill Estate to the research team at the Education University of Hong Kong for analysis. Among 14 specimens, lab results showed that water from Queen's Hill Estate and Taipo's Fuhan Estate contained bitumen. Meanwhile, various impurities were found in the other samples, including plumbing tape, plastic rings, and silicone sealant. In response, the Water Supplies Department said they would investigate and follow up on the asphalt case if more information was available. As for the impurities, the department said they could have come from peeling pipes located in the estate's internal water supply system. Yu Wai-pui from the Hong Kong Institution of Engineers said impurities could have also originated from the internal protective linings of peeling hoses or its connecting parts. Yu explained that workers might have applied silicone sealant to the water pipe's connecting parts. The Water Supplies Department stressed that it is not unusual to find impurities in water samples that go through an aerator on taps. A water expert said long-term consumption of impurities can still pose health risks to individuals. He said authorities should try to understand what it's like to stand in residents' shoes when they consider the issue. Mons 9, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee says Hong Kong's economy is keeping up its growth momentum, and he has called for a faster rollout of the northern metropolis, despite global headwinds and local business closures. Lee also noted the need to prevent the use of AI tools to undermine national security.
Over the past 2 years, turbocharging the economy has remained front and center among Chief Executive John Lee's agenda, with multiple visits undertaken overseas to tap business opportunities. However, chain restaurants, cinemas, and retail stores have closed down recently, one after another. Pointing to long-term fundamentals, Lee expressed confidence in Hong Kong's economy, noting that the number of newly registered companies in Hong Kong has reached a record high. The city leader said one should look at both the trees and the forest. While the few trees are struggling, the overall economy expanded 2.5% last year, with a projected growth of 2 to 3% this year, faring better than other mature economies such as Europe, he said. The CE stressed Hong Kong must diversify its appeal, adapting to the changing travel patterns. He said the city can't measure success in dollar signs, as tourist travel experience matters just as much. On the northern metropolis, Lee said he has called for expedited development progress, including considering external support to ease manpower constraints and improve construction methods. Asked whether he would seek to expand the multiple entry scheme for residents of mainland cities to visit Hong Kong, Lee said Beijing has always been supportive to Hong Kong, but the city must first do its part. On the national security front, Lee said new threats including AI-powered tools must be closely watched, as Hong Kong marks the 5th anniversary of the implementation of the National Security Law, or NSL. The second Legislative Council election after the NSL came into force is set to be held in December. When asked about his view towards the new batch of lawmakers, Lee said he expects them to uphold the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong.
The Office for Safeguarding National Security of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong launched its first joint operation with Hong Kong police on Thursday to arrange meetings with 6 individuals over their alleged collusion with foreign or external forces. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said the move was not carried out under Article 55 of the National Security Law. Article 55 permits direct law enforcement by central government authorities only under specific circumstances, including foreign interference. Tang said instead the operation was carried out according to Section 3 of the subsidiary legislation under the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance, with Hong Kong police coordinating interviews on behalf of central government authorities. The strong wind signal number 3 is in effect. The Hong Kong Observatory said it is likely to remain in force until at least midday tomorrow. Severe tropical storm Wu-Tip is moving at around 28 kilometers per hour across the Guangdong-Guangxi area. The city's forecaster said the chances of issuing the number 8 signal is low unless Wu-Tip intensifies around the inland region and shifts closer to the Pearl River estuary. In Pakfu Land this morning, a 10-meter tall tree collapsed amid strong winds. The observatory warns there will be rough seas and swells on Sunday, with unstable weather and occasional heavy showers early next week. Iran launched retaliatory missile strikes on Israel 24 hours after Israel struck their nuclear sites. An Iranian missile landed in central Israel, killing 3. Dozens have been injured across Israel. The damage inside Israel appears less severe than that inflicted on Iran by Israel on Friday, when 78 people were killed and hundreds wounded. David Garrett with the latest.
Striking at the source, Israel's military released pictures of strikes on Iranian missile launchers. The images are grainy, but it shows explosions weakening Iran's response. Yesterday, Israel took out Iranian commanders and nuclear scientists. Now, they're aiming to limit Iran's capability to retaliate. Iran did respond, though, with barrages of missiles and drones. Flashes, booms and explosions, lights in the cloud, this above Tel Aviv. Most ballistic missiles appeared to be repelled, but some did make it through. There were explosions on the ground in Israel's 2 largest cities, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The attack on Jerusalem was early, before sunrise. It's easier to make out the interceptions against the night sky. Warning sirens going off in both major cities throughout Saturday, as Benjamin Netanyahu had already warned Israelis they may have to spend the weekend in shelters. Israel is suffering damage. An Iranian missile breached defences in central Israel. Frightened residents said they'd never seen anything like this. 3 villas were badly damaged, with deaths and injuries. Despite this, Israel's Prime Minister told Iranians and their government they should expect more attacks.
The time has come.
Explosions visible above Tehran again, as 5 were arrested for alleged spying for Israel and helping instigate yesterday's strikes. Today, Iran's defence is in operation as Israel continues to attack. Netanyahu appearing good on his threat not to let up. With neither side backing down, fears of more days and nights like this, with both sides firing at each other. Israel's defence minister warned Iran that Tehran will burn if it continues firing missiles at Israel. US President Donald Trump urging Iran to strike a deal on nuclear enrichment, or he expects they'll face more powerful attacks from Israel. Iran seems far from any agreement now. Israel and Iran could be heading for an all-out war. David Garrett, TVB News.
The United Nations Security Council held an emergency session before Iran retaliated. China's permanent representative to the UN condemned Israel's initial attack. Fu Tong says Israel violated Iran's sovereignty and security, and China is concerned about the intensification of tensions and expansion of military activity. He told the meeting the international community should work for a ceasefire. Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged Israel and Iran to halt attacks, calling for diplomacy. But the 2 countries' envoys blamed each other. In the U.S., about 200 Marines moved into Los Angeles on Friday to guard a federal building, while communities across the country prepared for a nationwide wave of demonstrations against President Donald Trump's policies. The protests will coincide with a grand parade in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, the same day as Trump's 79th birthday. Meanwhile, a U.S. Army veteran became the first person detained by the Marines since they were deployed to replace National Guard troops in L.A. Nasri Karim has more.
A Marine picks up a zip-tied Marcos Leal from the ground. The U.S. Army veteran and immigrant said he was trying to get into the Veterans Administration building when he stepped over a yellow line and was taken down by Marines. After 2 hours, the 27-year-old was handed over to civilian authorities, who later released him without charges.
was trying to go across, and they told me to stop first. And of course, I complied when I crossed the first checkpoint, and they told me to basically get down on the ground. They treated me very thoroughly and everything. There's more communication and letting them know what's going on. They're like, okay, just this is what's going on, Mark.
200 of the 700 Marines sent to LA are on the ground, protecting the Wilshire Federal Building, where Democratic Senator Alex Padilla was on Thursday forcefully removed from a press conference given by Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem. The 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines are in LA against the wishes of the local government and Governor Gavin Newsom, who filed a suit against US President Donald Trump and the Defense Department. On Thursday, a US Court of Appeals temporarily blocked a federal judge's order directing Trump to return control of the National Guard soldiers to California. Trump said LA would be burning to the ground had he not sent in the troops, while California officials insist the protests are largely peaceful. Other states with Republican governors such as Texas, Virginia, Nebraska and Missouri are also ready to deploy National Guard troops ahead of nationwide protests that coincide with today's parade in Washington to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the US Army. It also happened to be Donald Trump's 79th birthday. Hundreds of thousands of activists are expected to take part in the No Kings protests against Trump's immigration raids and what they say are his increasingly authoritarian policies. The parade is expected to attract 200,000 people in Washington, D.C. and will feature more than 6,000 troops, 128 tanks, bands and a parachute display. Meanwhile, 4 detainees have escaped from a federal immigration detention center in Newark, New Jersey, amid reports of disorder breaking out in the facility. Newark's mayor had cited reports of a possible uprising. Protesters outside the center had locked arms and pushed against barricades as vehicles passed through the gates. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
And still ahead, the lone survivor in Air India's plane crash recounts how he came out alive. Japan's chief meteorologist dismisses rumors of a major earthquake in July. And locally, father and son paint their bond through the years. Welcome back. Search and recovery teams are scouring the site of one of India's worst aviation disasters for a third day. Officials say the death toll from the London-bound Air India flight's Thursday crash in the northwestern city of Ahmedabad has reached at least 279. Meanwhile, the crash's lone survivor said it's a miracle that he did not die. Danny Rao tells us more.
The lone passenger who survived the Air India crash said it's a miracle that he survived. The British national of Indian origin Viswash Kumar Ramesh was heading to London when the flight crashed minutes after taking off from India's northwestern city of Ahmedabad on Thursday afternoon. Ramesh, from his bed in a local government hospital, narrated his ordeal to India's national broadcaster DD News.
I can't explain. Everything happened in my eye. I can't.
How did you manage to escape? Did you pull the emergency doors?
No. Emergency door is broken.
Yeah.
My seat is broken.
Yeah.
Then I see the page little bit.
Yeah.
Then I will try to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So, did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
Oh, okay. So, did anybody help you, or you after that you came out on your own? How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
Okay.
Then ambulance coming in.
You did walk out on the building, or how?
No, in floor.
On the floor.
Yes.
Okay.
Inside the aeroplane.
Only the airplane.
Yeah.
So, and you managed to get into the ambulance there? How do you feel that you have survived this kind of...
I can't explain. It's miracle, everything.
Meanwhile, hundreds of relatives of the victims of the Air India crash have provided DNA samples to help identify the dead. Most bodies were charred or mutilated, making them unrecognizable. Some relatives expressed frustration the process was taking too long. Authorities say it normally takes up to 72 hours to complete DNA matching, and they are expediting the process. India's aviation ministry said it will look into all possible theories of what could have caused the crash. Investigators have recovered the plane's digital flight data recorder, or the black box, which was found on a rooftop near the crash site. This will likely lead to clues about the cause of the accident. They're examining whether wing flaps were set correctly, the engine lost power, alarms were going off inside the cockpit, and if the plane's crew correctly logged information about the hot temperature outside and the weight of the fuel and passengers. Daniel, TV News.
Rumors circulating in Hong Kong and elsewhere about the major earthquake in Japan this summer has been dismissed as a hoax by the country's meteorological chief. The speculation reportedly originates from a comic book. Yoichi Nomura said the rumors were unscientific and urged people not to worry because even the most advanced science still cannot predict any quake or tsunami. Any such prediction is a hoax, he said. Rumors in Hong Kong and other Asian cities of a major earthquake or tsunami in Japan next month have led to flight cancellations and reductions in service, affecting tourism. The rumors originate from a 2022 Japanese comic book, The Future I Saw, which features a dream foreseeing a tsunami and is also available in Chinese. The chatter began spreading earlier this year through social media, mainly in Hong Kong. The author had allegedly predicted the 2011 quake and tsunami in northern Japan that killed more than 18,000 people. Former leader of Taiwan, Ma Ying-jeou, set off for mainland China today to attend the 17th Straits Forum in Xiamen. The forum is seen as the largest annual cross-strait grassroots exchange event. Ahead of his departure, Ma said this marks his fourth visit to the mainland, and he hopes face-to-face exchanges can ease cross-strait tensions. Ma and the delegation he's leading will also take part in cultural exchange activities in Dunhuang, Gansu, and visit the Hexi corridor. He is scheduled to return to Taiwan on June 27th. Ahead of Father's Day tomorrow, a Hong Kong ink painter and his son, also an artist, are exhibiting their artworks together in a heartfelt display of intergenerational bond through brushstrokes.
This painting of sweeping mountains and small boats not only blends ink and brushes, but also joins the hearts and hands of two generations of artists, He Baili, a fourth-generation master of the Lingnan School of Painting, and his son, Eric He. It incorporates the son's brushwork on the natural landscape and the father's signature motif of boats.
He inspires me. He influenced me not in the sense that he gave me the skills, because I only watched him paint when I was a kid. So he influenced me by telling me how to respect Chinese art, how important my root is into Chinese culture, and how the Chinese culture can be part of my art and flourish from that part.
Eric's efforts to reinterpret classical brushstrokes in his HKID series explore new dimensions of traditional Chinese ink art through abstract language and urban inspiration. His work was also selected among the projects supported by the 2025 China National Arts Fund. Now 80 years old, He Baili boasts more than 6 decades of dedication to Chinese ink art. He hopes more Hong Kong ink artists, including his son, can carry Chinese ink art onto the global stage with both reverence for tradition and embodiment of its limitless versatility.
I really emphasize on their self-exploration, because Chinese painting, the most important is the connotation, not rigid.
On the eve of Father's Day, the father and son are holding a joint art exhibition at Hong Kong City Hall. It's free admission to the Legacy of Beauty exhibition, which opens daily from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The exhibition runs until next Monday on June 16th.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.